New Year, welcome back to the channel. If you're new to the series, let me get you up to speed. We're building the world's first 6.8 liter V10 with Cobra heads. If you're not familiar with these motors, Ford never made the V10 in a 4-valve configuration. They only came with a 2 and 3 valve. We started off by sourcing a V10 engine out of a Ford F350 at our local junkyard. We then also sourced 4 sets of 4-valve heads, specifically the DC castings, which are the last and best revisions of these heads. And you can find these at your local junkyard if you know what you're looking for. To make the 4-valve V8 heads fit on the V10 block, we chopped them up and welded them together. If you want to see the progress so far, including porting and fabricating a custom intake, make sure you check out the rest of the videos in the series.
Now that you're up to speed, let's walk through the build. We wanted to wait until we had all the parts together before answering your questions. As you've noticed, the intent of this build is no longer just to build a 4-valve V10. We are wanting to make a high-performance, high-revving, naturally aspirated V10. How high, you ask? 8,000 RPM. How much power? 700 plus horsepower. Building this V10 is already an ambitious project for 2 guys in a garage. Taking it to this level adds even more complexity and risk. But this has been a passion project for the both of us, and we want to push this engine to its limits. That being said, we're taking all the necessary steps to make sure this engine will succeed. So let's start with the top end. Here we have the unassembled, fully welded V10 cylinder heads. These were ported. We installed brand new bronze valve guides and polished the combustion chambers. We try to maximize their airflow on our DIY flow bench. These actually just came back from the machine shop along with our Ford 6000 series valves, where we got a 3-angle valve job. Pairing with those valves, we got the Cobra Beehive valve springs. These have some of the highest spring rates for off-the-shelf mod motor engines, so this will help us control our valves at our high RPM goal. To round off the valve train, we have new lifters and Ford GT rockers. Todd Warren from Apocalypse Performance, a well-known engine builder in the mod motor world, helped us spec out the pistons. Since we're staying naturally aspirated, we opted to go with a high 13:1 compression ratio. To get us there, Todd worked with Trum pistons to spec a big positive 3cc dome. These are stock bore, but in order to improve quench, we increased the compression height on the piston. If you're not familiar with quench is the distance between the top of the piston and the bottom of the cylinder head at top dead center. Better quench gives you better fuel mixing in the combustion chamber for better combustion. Trum machined extra material out of the bottom of the piston to help with weight, and machined these with a thinner, low friction ring set to keep weight and friction down everywhere possible. In addition, we also opted to upgrade the wrist pins to a tool steel, which was thinner, to help us save weight everywhere. So for rods, we went with Cali's CompStar line of connecting rods. These forged H-beam rods are some of the lightest ones available, since most are geared towards high boost application. These rods are equipped with a 7/16 rod bolt in a ARP formulation specifically made for Cali's. This is important for us because for high RPM, most of the force is taken by these rod bolts, and we want these to be as strong as possible. So on the topic of RPM, a lot of you guys have raised some concerns about the goal and the long stroke of this motor. On the screen here, you'll see a lot of NA builds and where we fall within those builds in relation to piston speed. And you can see that we don't really fall out of the bounds of what people are doing. This is just to reassure you guys that there is no limit to piston speed as long as you plan ahead and build the motor properly. Moving on to the crank, we'll be using the stock V10 crankshaft. It is a 8-bolt forged piece from the factory, so we think it'll hold up to this build. And also there's nothing available in the aftermarket, so we're going to see how far we can push it. To finish off the build, we have an ATI damper, we have performance bearings from Clevite and King, we have all the ARP hardware we need. For oiling, we'll be using a GT500 oil pump with boundary billet gears, and all the timing is going to be handled by a Ford Performance kit. with some common modifications done to handle the RPM. As many of you already noticed by the dual electronic throttle bodies, we will not be going with the stock ECU. We've opted to go with the Fueltech FT550. The stock ECU would limit our RPM potential, and we wanted to extract everything we can from this build. There's not very many aftermarket ECUs on the market capable of driving 10 sequential injectors, and after talking to a few vendors at SEMA, we decided to go with the Fueltech. The last piece of the puzzle, and probably the most important piece, are the camshafts. And as you can see, they're not on this table. We knew going in that sourcing the cams was going to be difficult, and it turned out to be even more difficult than we thought. What we ended up doing was custom catting the core, the blank, and sending that off to a machine shop to have cut. They're currently cut, and they're being sent off to Bullet Racing Cams to have them ground to Todd Warren's specs that he custom fine-tuned specifically for our build goals. We're hoping to have the cams by the next video, so subscribe if you don't want to miss it and see the information on those.
All right, so hopefully you guys are as excited as we are to get this thing started. Before I do that though, we have a lot of things to get done. So we've made a list here of everything that needs to happen before the engine can get started. The plan is to start the engine on the stand. So some of the big items we still have to get done are obviously machining work for the block. We have to send off the rotating assembly to get balanced. We have to figure out fueling system, oiling system, cooling system, and we also have to modify gaskets and a few other things. That being said, let's get back to CCing the heads. All right, so we have our setup here on the workbench. We're getting ready to start CCing the heads. CCing the heads is essentially measuring the volume at each combustion chamber. The reason you want to do this is so that you can match the volumes on all cylinders, and that way you can also make sure your compression ratio is as even as possible throughout all cylinders. How we're going to do this, we've sealed the ports on this cylinder with the valves using some grease. We also have this small plexiglass piece. We're going to be using the pipettes to measure how much water it takes to fill up the combustion chamber. So we're going to do that on all 10 cylinders. And once we find what our largest combustion chamber volume is, we're going to have to remove material from all the smallest combustion chambers to match that largest one. So let's go ahead and get started with this cylinder. Alright, so we just finished CCing all the combustion chambers. Here's our volume numbers. We're off by maybe about 1.9 cc's from the smallest to the largest. So we've already started grinding one of the cylinders to try and figure out how much material we have to take out.
Yeah, we're just going through with the grinder and the burr, and then kind of taking out material. So what we found the most effective is taking this kind of slope down tighter, and that's given us some more volume. So that's what we'll be doing slowly through across to match to the largest one.
So we're gonna start grinding, and it's gonna take a while, so hopefully.
We have to grind, then we have to remeasure,
Grind again.
grind more, remeasure, because measure twice, cut once. So
Exactly. Alrighty.
All right, so we finished CCing the heads. We said originally we wanted to hit like 1%, or I don't even remember.
Half a cc, within half a cc.
Yeah, we were supposed to try to get half cc. One of them somehow got too large, so we are at 0.75 cc's, so 3/4 of a cc variance between the smallest and the largest. It's good that the largest one is only one that's bigger, so that'll just lower compression, which is safer than having one that's too tight. So we finished polishing. We got to clean the heads again. This is like the third time. We should have.
There's so many shavings and
should have not done it this way. So now that CCing the heads are done, we get to do a very special thing. Take it away, Diego.
You did.
Oh,
You
I
finished
get to
it,
do it?
Oh my God! Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm.
What's the
Everybody
procedure,
stay calm.
everyone? What's the procedure?
Stay calm.
Number one, done. So next, I think we'll be working on this. I think we haven't even measured it all, but we probably have to buy shims from Amazon or somewhere to set those properly. But we're working our way down the list.
Yep. And I've been working on cleaning up the block. I took all the freeze plugs out. I'm putting together all the caps and the parts we're going to send off for balancing. So the plan is to send this out tomorrow, drop this off at the shop, and they said it was going to take about 3 weeks or so. So hopefully by next video we'll have this back, we'll have the cams back, and it'll really be all on us to finish and work through that list.
Yeah.
So the last couple of weeks I've been waiting for parts and things like that, so not a lot of progress.
Vacation.
And vacation, yes.
Happy holidays.
So that'll be it for this video. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you on the next one.